And welcome to Houston Newsmakers Extra. I'm talking with Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg. We've been having a good conversation this morning about some of the things going on in her office. One of the things I want to ask you about, Kim, it has to do with the transparency that you propose, that you say your office is really devoted to, committed to, especially in the wake of the number of shootings that have been happening in the city of Houston. We look at some of the things that are happening around the country, but the city has had some officer-involved shootings that are also coming under scrutiny. Talk about what your office is proposing to do to make sure that there's transparency for everybody to see what's going on.
Well, let me say, instead of proposing, we're taking action. We go to the scene of every police shooting. And I think that's important because we observe the officers, we observe the scene. While we don't personally talk to witnesses there, we're basically there to make sure there's an objective third party on viewing the collection of evidence. We also do a walkthrough with the officer right after the incident. I think that's critical. And we do this by agreement with the police departments. Now, I think it's important that the public understand some information can lawfully be released, others cannot. Anything we obtain through a grand jury, I can't talk about because of our laws. But I think when it comes to the videos and getting to the bottom of what really happened, as we lay out our case in our charging documents, and every case is presented to a grand jury, meaning there are charging documents presented to that grand jury, every type of offense they can consider. I think it's important that the public know that we can make those charging documents public. Now, I think that there's more to be done here about the body cams. We see far too many shootings where there just aren't body cams rolling. That was the purpose of them, so that every police officer out there could have the benefit and the exposure of filming they were doing. We're seeing too many narcotics cases, not just HPD. The sheriff's department has a shooting case where the officer was not wearing a body cam in a narcotics operation, same as Goins. This must change. So we've got to ensure that the public has all the evidence that they need when possible. There will be technical failures. There will be evidentiary obstacles. I believe we can get through this. The public's frustrated, but what we don't want is civil unrest that ends in harm to the very communities that are most impacted by police brutality and corruption. We come together to help one another. And I think that transparency is a way to ease people's frustration. I do want them to know there are certain laws that are just a problem.
Right.
We can change some of those laws by working with our legislature, who's going to need to open up and make simpler the prosecution of corrupt individuals who are employed by the government, like police or politicians. We've got to have some civil rights laws at a statewide level that will protect the public. In many instances, the federal government comes in and prosecutes. We have not seen that much of that in Texas. And I'd like to say that we have talked with Ryan Patrick, the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District. He's offered to help with some of the protest cases, and he is involved in the Gerald Goins matter. So I think it's important to know that both your federal and your state prosecutors are interested here in Houston in holding people accountable for equal justice. What our community wants is the laws applied to everyone. And that's what your district attorney's office is trying to do.
Critics of HPD have been harping on trying to get video from some of the shootings that have happened. Where does that stand? Is that specifically something that is in the hands of HPD, or does your office have something to say about that as well?
Well, I think we're talking about it, and while I have many things to say, every police leader in town would tell you that it is first and foremost their decision. These are their records, their officers. They are meeting with victims. You know, I hope there's room for every law enforcement chief in this county to keep an open mind about the release of those and the timing of those. It can also be incendiary, and Chief Acevedo has correctly pointed out, it can impact jury selection. I think that's a risk that we can take. I trust Houstonians to be fair. They're not just words. I've lived here all my life. I always say Houston is the biggest small town in the country, Cambrell, and I think our people can be fair. 29 police officers or jailers have been indicted by grand juries since that process was reformed. And we now have random ordinary citizens participating. But if you have an answer to jury summons, please participate in your democracy. Come down and serve. We're going to start back. You know, COVID has everything on hold. The courts are way backed up. We are going to need some massive civic support as the courts open back up. And by that, I mean, come serve as a juror or a grand juror.
Well, we look forward to getting back to normal. I know that you do and we all do. And I thank you for what you're doing in your office. Thank you for spending the time with us this morning. I know that our viewers and those who are going to be viewing this online will gain some valuable insight as a result of this. So thank you very much, Madam DA.
Thanks to you.
We'll look forward to talking to you down the road, okay?